All right, Rob G. Big NBA. Let me rephrase that. There was an NBA trade today. The Atlanta Hawks get Dejounte Murray. Now, for those, a lot of people might not be aware of Dejounte. I mean, they may have heard of him. But Dejounte Murray, Rob, is nice. He made the All-Star team last year. He darn near averaged a triple-double for the San Antonio Spurs. He's just 25 years old. He does turn 26 in September, but still relatively young. He's won a steals title, and he did it last year. Here's his numbers from last year, Rob. 21 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 steals a game, and he shot 46% from the floor. Not bad. Only 33% from three. So he's not a three-point shooter. But the dude is athletic. He's rangy. He can guard. I think he'll be nice. He's 6'4". He'll be a nice guy you could play next to Trae Young because Trae shoots it so well as the point guard that you can get away with a guy at the 2 can't shoot as well. Driving lane should be open with Trae's range. So I like this move for the Hawks. They gave up 3 first-round picks, and only one of them, Rob, is lottery protected, which is, that's big. And Danilo Gallinari, who I like Danilo. He can play. But as by himself, he's not leading the Spurs to many victories. So that's the deal. And for those that might not be able to kind of read between the lines of what's going on here, the San Antonio Spurs are playing the long game. The San Antonio Spurs, they're a bad team right now. All right, Greg Popovich is an all-time great coach, but even he can't deliver many victories for this team. All right, last year, they did make the play-in. They finished 10th, but didn't advance any further. And rather than just stay in no man's land of mediocrity, Rob G, they are playing the long game and saying, look, we're going to get picks. Could be some really good picks, too. And we're giving up our best player because we don't really want to be that good next year. Because there is a guy. How tall is he? 7'2" or 7 foot?
7'2".
7'2", Victor Wembanyama. I know I probably said it wrong.
Way off. Victor
Wembanyama. And if you haven't seen him, he's a French. He's black, but he's French, like Tony Parker. He's 7'2", as Rob G said. He's long and rangy, and he's got skills similar to Chet Holmgren. So he's got handle. He can shoot the 3. He can shoot the mid-range. I'm not saying he's Steph Curry from there, but he can shoot it. He can do things inside in the paint. He can block shots. So he is a guy that could be a building block. And Rob G, what I think the Spurs are doing is what they did to get their last dynasty. Remember, David Robinson was injured. He had made them a very good team, but couldn't get them over the hump to the finals and the championship. And he was injured, but it got to a point where it was like, he could come back. Midway through the season, 2/3 of the way through the season. He's ready to play. They kept him out. They end up getting the top pick, which turned into Tim Duncan, and the rest is history. And I see history repeating itself, Rob G. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, again, if you're not familiar with Big Vic, go on YouTube and watch what he did to Chet Holmgren and the Team USA team in international under-19 play. Like, he was a man amongst boys going against. And
that's our best 18-year-olds.
Against the best group that we could throw out there. Multiple scouts are saying he's probably the most sure thing at number 1 since Anthony Davis or even LeBron James. And now that's what you're talking about with Big Vic. Now, if you're the San Antonio Spurs, to say that the last 5 years have been disappointing would probably be an understatement. 47 wins. They
were, yeah.
48 wins in the last 3 has been brutal. 32, 33, 34. They tried to miss the play-in last year, but my Lakers were so bad that they snuck in anyway. What? But you know what? As much as I like to pile on the Spurs because I don't really like Greg Popovich.
You don't?
No, I do not.
Wow.
Number one, because they're the Lakers' biggest rivalry, since I've been a fan, basically. Number 2, because we should have had Kawhi Leonard in a trade, 4 years ago, but he was just hell-bent on not accepting anything the Lakers could offer. So they sent him to Toronto instead for DeMar DeRozan.
Yes.
Could have got Brandon Ingram. He said no. But in this case, I think they're doing the right thing.
Well, let's find out. Because on the other hand, you got the New York Knicks. They're bad too. In fact, they finished 11th in the East. Now, they did have a better record than the Spurs, but they're basically two bad to mediocre teams. And the Knicks are doing all they can to sign Jalen Brunson, who's a good player. Rob G, he ain't changing your fortunes.
No way.
Next year, once they sign Rick Brunson or Jalen, I say Rick, his dad. I covered his dad when he played for the Knicks.
They already got Rick Brunson.
Right, as an assistant coach. Just hired him, by the way. But once they get Jalen Brunson in the fold for the 4 years, $110 million, thereabouts, guess what? They're still going to be in that 7 to 11 range in the Eastern Conference. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't hurt their ability to go out and sign a max player next year when more players, better players are available. So that's fine. And in a vacuum, you say, you know what? Yeah, we're not expecting Jalen to be, the best player on the championship team, but Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, who quietly had a really nice year last year and keeps improving, Julius Randle, and then next summer, the ability to at least go after that number one guy. We like what we're doing, and that's fine. But what if they don't get that number one guy, Rob G, next year? And they probably won't because they never do.
Right.
Then, rather than not going for Rick Brunson,
Jalen Brunson,
and just Jalen Brunson, and filling out your roster with 1 year deals so you maintain your cap space and actually would have even more next summer, and then being bad and doing what the Spurs are doing and seeing if you can win the lottery and get Big Vic, as Rob G called him, they are going all in for mediocrity. So in a vacuum, it's okay. But when you look at the big picture, you say, you know what? In my opinion, Rob, the Spurs are doing the right thing. What do you think?
I think you're 1,000% correct. In today's NBA, especially the way the lottery is set up, where it's very advantageous for you to be bad. And not just a little bit bad, but like all the way we suck bad.
Right.
It makes zero sense if you're the New York Knicks to push all your chips in and move heaven and earth and all these picks and all these contracts for Jalen Brunson like he's 2010 LeBron James.
Thank you.
And Jalen Brunson's a nice player. Like, right. I don't want to be disrespectful to Jalen Brunson. He's a fine NBA point guard, definitely in the upper half of starting point guards once he gets to New York.
But that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 6 or 15. I don't want to insult him because he is nice. But I don't know I think definitely might be a little too strong.
Okay.
He's right. He might be. He's right around. He's somewhere in between 13 and 16, 17.
That sounds about right.
Right. So maybe in the first, but right around there.
Yeah.
Right around.
And so the point being is, in today's NBA, and I don't know if this is just me talking as a Laker fan because I'm used to either we won the championship or we didn't. There's no in between for Laker fans. But if you're the New York Knicks, I guess maybe because you've been bad for so long, the season that you've had, in the last 20 years was a second round appearance with Carmelo Anthony. So maybe it does make sense as to why you'd want to push your chips all in with the hopes of becoming, at best an Eastern Conference Finals team if everything breaks right and you maybe get a few key injuries here and there. But for my money, I would.
But they're not even that this year.
No,
next year.
Yeah, next year.
Not next year.
But even for my money, I would much rather do what the Spurs are doing. Maybe OKC's doing a little too much, but get a bite at the apple to get you a legitimate superstar transcendent player, which Jalen Brunson is not. Because we all know if you're going to win a championship, save for the 2004 Detroit Pistons, you need a superstar to do it.
Absolutely. Who's got the better rebuilding plan? The bottoming out Spurs or the soon-to-be mediocre Knicks?
All right, let's
Yes,
get
sir.
right to it. Carl is in Mobile, Alabama. Carl, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Carl?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys. I have to say this is kind of a tough one for me because I don't really like either one of the models. I'm a longtime Spurs fan. I go back to James Silas, Artis Gilmore, and Iceman.
Oh, yeah.
So I followed them since I was a kid growing up in San Antonio, and I don't think they're rebuilding. I think that basically what they're running is a basketball academy because they've already won 5 championships. They've built their brand as the winningest team in sports. So right now, and they tried the free agency thing with who's the center from Portland? What's his name? It escapes me. That
LaMarcus Aldridge.
LaMarcus,
They swung for the fences a few times with free agents, big dollar free agents. That didn't work. So now I think they're just running a basketball academy. And
so when you
doing it
say that, what expound on that basketball academy? I mean, they're not trying to win in the future. What are you thinking?
I think that what they're basically doing, and I watch what they do. They get good players. And basically, he wants to train these guys to be long-term NBA players, and he teaches everybody how to run an offense and how to run a team on the floor. And as soon as they do it well enough to build enough market value, and they get credit, in other words, the player gets good enough to get interest from other teams, then they let them go and get picks and keep going. So it's not a situation where they're like, "Hey, we're building to try to win a championship."
But why do you? Just keep it real, because that's a serious accusation, and I don't think it makes sense. You're in the business to win, especially a team that's already won 5 championships. They got used to winning. Why would they do that? I mean, that helps other teams. That doesn't make sense. Why do you think? And they haven't even been bad long enough to me for you to say that.
I'm gonna tell you why. And I watch them closely. The game has changed. Popovich hates the way the game is run now. He hates the 3-point shot. And I've watched them. They're good. They're a good young team. But all it takes is a team to get hot at the end of the game and hit 4 or 5 3-pointers to beat them, and they lose. I've watched the Spurs lose by 3 or 4 points 100 times. And it kills you when a team plays defense and does everything right, and this team that basically has done nothing all game long gets hot from the 3-point arc and hits 5 or 6 threes and wins the game. So Popovich hates the game the way it is now. He hates the 3-pointers. So he's like, hey, I think, and I'm not saying.
It's an interesting theory. That's an interesting theory. Rob G, what do you think about that?
You know what? I thought it was crazy at first when he said it, until you realize that the Spurs just traded away a 25-year-old all-star defensive menace point guard with 2 years left on his deal at only $16.5 and $17.5 million in a league where Russell Westbrook gets 47, and according to reports, Damian Lillard's about to get a 2-year extension worth over $100 million.
So now you're not buying the notion that they just trying to bottom out.
No, I think they are trying to bottom out, but I think that his point...
Because believe me, they're not going to be preparing Big Vic for another team.
Right. But I mean, like, the idea that maybe they haven't really been trying to win the last few years. Because for the Spurs...
They haven't been good enough.
But they've won 33 games this season.
First they had Kawhi and Aldridge.
Right.
Then they had DeMar and Aldridge, and I know wasn't a championship caliber team, but they were thinking they could be good. DeMar's been better. He was better in Toronto than he was in San Antonio.
Right.
Even though he played well for the Spurs, but he's been better in Chicago than he was in San Antonio. So I hear you. I mean, the way he laid it out, he's right about Popovich not really liking the 3-point shot and the overemphasis that has in the game today. But I just don't think there's been enough time to say, and make an accusation. You know what's crazy
is the last time they won a championship, they embraced the 3-ball more so than any team had up until that point when they beat LeBron's Heat. Let's sneak in one more. We got Robert in St. Louis. Robert, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got, man?
Hey, I love your show. I love your show. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
What you got, man?
Hello?
He's gone. Yeah,
You all right? You ready?
When you're taking
You gotta
17
move
minutes
quickly,
to get
brother.
it, we got too many people on hold.
Right.
Ann is in Maryland. Ann, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Ann?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Doing good. How you doing?
So I think it's insane to follow that tank for everything, because where has that gotten the 76ers? They still haven't won anything.
And
tell me.
they got Joel Embiid, and they had been some. Now, granted, they haven't won a championship. They haven't even been to the conference finals. But you're relevant, and you are a contender. That's a good place to be, even if you don't win it.
But you know what? We can use that argument. And I'm a Knicks fan, so let me start out with that. But the Knicks have been relevant forever, and they're awful.
When? The Knicks haven't been relevant since Allen Houston and Latrell. They had the 1 year with Melo.
When we speak of relevance, though, you just said we're not really talking about winning. We're just talking about having your name out there, having people talking about you.
You guys aren't relevant nationally. You're not. New Yorkers think they are. They're not. That's why free agents don't flock to New York. Look, I've said it before. I was shocked when I moved to New York and started working for the New York Times at how much fans in New York and media thought everybody wanted to play for the Knicks. So if we have money, they're coming. Everything being equal, we got money to offer them. Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, Chris Ware, all the greats want to play for New York. No, you're not the Yankees. You're not the Cowboys. You're not the Lakers. What you want, Rob, to me, yes, you want to win championships, of course, especially the Lakers, the team you root for. But Rob G, I think what you really want as an NBA franchise is you want that 5 to 7 year run where you are a contender, where every year you start the season with your fans, your players, your organization believing, man, we this is our year. We can win the championship. And if you don't, it's disappointing, but it's still, you'll look back and it's a great run. Phoenix Suns did not get to the finals with Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, and Sean Marion. But guess what? It was a great run. The Sacramento Kings didn't get there with Chris Webber, Peja Stojakovic, so on and so forth. It was a great run. And the Knicks didn't win it with Patrick Ewing. But they would die for Patrick Ewing in that run now.
Absolutely.
So that's, I mean, and in the moment, you're like, man, we got to get over the hump. It's disappointing every year when you fall short. But that's a great run. The fans are excited. The city's excited. You're a national story. The Knicks aren't close to that now. And they're not that every year. They haven't really been, I mean, I guess you could say the year Melo got him to the second round, right? And he was in the MVP race. Right. But, I mean, that was 1 year. So,
I know we got training, but I got a question for you. Maybe you answer on the other side.
Yep.
Would you rather be the New York Knicks, who own the city of New York, the biggest media market in the country, and are irrelevant nationally, or these Brooklyn Nets, who get all the headlines on the national level and no one in New York cares about them?
You know what? That's a topic. Let's talk about that at the 45 after Shekel City. I like that. But first, we're going to go to our man, David Gascon, the second. After him, Plaxico Burress, Super Bowl champion. What up, man?
I don't know. I'm a little frustrated by you.
Me?
I'm a little flabbergasted, yeah.
Why?
That last female caller that you talked to about being in contention.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, if you're Memphis, yeah, you're happy that you're in contention.
Okay.
But if you're New York or Philadelphia, oh, hell no. If you're in Los Angeles, hell no. Like, you aspire
like
to be
the Lakers.
Yeah.
Look at the Clippers.
But
they have not yet won a championship. Do you think, going by where they were in the 80s and the 90s, up until they got Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, you don't think they're fine?
No.
I mean, of course they want to win a title.
No.
But they will look back at this in 10 years and say, man.
No.
What a great run.
No.
We had Lob City, and then we had Kawhi and Paul George.
But what do they have to show for it? Same thing Phoenix did with Steve Nash and company.
Let me ask you this, Gasca, because this is the end-all, be-all to this discussion.
There's a lot of hot air.
Is the Utah Jazz a good franchise?
They're average.
No, they're not average. The Utah
average.
Jazz is a great franchise.
No.
And they've never won a championship.
How many NBA finals have they? How many NBA finals have they been to?
2.
2 in the 90s?
But that's my point.
When gas was $1.25? Who cares?
Look,
that's average.
You're speaking. Are you a Lakers fan?
Yeah, I'm a Lakers fan.
Yeah, you sound like a Lakers fan. And
Why?
I get it. Because for the Lakers, that's the best franchise in basketball.
I'm talking about this from a business perspective. Like, your job is to win games and to win
and
NBA
make
titles.
Money.
They
and
haven't
make money.
but they haven't been to the NBA Finals since 1998.
Your job is to make money. If you're a business,
winning is
your
secondary.
job is
You can
to make
tell in the NBA
talk.
that winning is not that important.
Well, I mean,
Utah, that's what Utah, the fans are excited every year. It's jam-packed every year. They're the only show in town. Utah is a legitimate franchise.
That means you have a lack of options. That's it. You can't use that same argument here in Los Angeles with the Clippers.
Well,
you tell me the Clippers.
The freaking Lakers.
So what?
Stop thinking like a Laker fan and look at the other 29 franchises.
I am. If you're Memphis, you could be ecstatic about being in contention.
Why?
Because it's Memphis.
I thought it was like win or bust.
No, but it's Memphis. They're the only game in town.
Well, it's a lot of NBA cities like that.
But Philadelphia
Even if
shouldn't
they're not
be.
the only game.
Philadelphia should not be. New York should not be. Those teams should be in the conference finals every year.
New York is a big city,
right?
But the team has been sorry for the better part of its existence.
Coaching, bad management, bad personnel.
For the better part of their existence, they've been sad.
Yeah. All they're selling you is Madison Square Garden, the allure of that.
Gas gone.
What?
You know
I'm
what?
shocked.
Rob G, I might bring Gascon into the arena.
We may have to do it. We may have to do it.
He talking all this stuff because he knows it's only like a 2-minute conversation. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of the NBA player that jumps bad on the court. You know, because you know it ain't going. I would pick a fight with Shaq on the NBA court because I know it's not going anywhere. Everybody gonna jump in and break it up. I ain't messing with Shaq in the tunnel, and that's Gascon.
So you're trying to you're trying
he getting bad on the update.
You're trying to equate me to Barkley throwing a ball at your head.
Yes, exactly.